A military parade held in Beijing to commemorate the 80th anniversary of victory of the Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese aggression. President Xi Jinping calls for peace and unity at 80th anniversary of World War II victory parade. And U.S. military strikes alleged drug-carrying Venezuelan vessel, killing 11 on board. Hello and welcome to TVB News. I'm Melissa Hekalea. A military parade was held in Beijing this morning to commemorate the 80th anniversary of victory of the Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese aggression. A number of new missiles and military equipment were reviewed as witnessed by foreign leaders, including Russian President Vladimir Putin and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. President Xi Jinping delivered a speech emphasizing that commemorating victory is about remembering history and preventing historical tragedies from being repeated. Sakura Ip begins our coverage in Beijing.
At 9 a.m., an 80-gun salute was fired at Tiananmen Square, and a parade of troops marched into the square. President Xi Jinping was standing in a Hongqi limousine leaving from the Tiananmen Tower and crossing the Jinshui Bridge.
主席同志，受阅部队列队完毕，请您检阅。开始。是。
President Xi gave the command for the inspection to commence. Amid military music, Xi inspected foot, banner, and armament formations along Chang'an Avenue.
同志们好！同志们辛苦了！
The limousine then went back to Tiananmen Tower. The parade began shortly afterwards, led by the flag-guarding air echelon. 26 helicopters formed number 80 in the air, symbolizing the 80th anniversary of victory of the Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese aggression. The ground-based parade was led by the Guard of Honor formation. The Navy formation had the youngest average age under 21 years old and included female sailors. The military equipment parade then took the stage. In addition to several new tanks, the highly anticipated sea-based anti-ship missiles, which are supersonic missiles considered the Navy's key weapon for striking aircraft carriers. The counter-drone parade made its debut at Tiananmen Square, showcasing counter-drone systems such as high-energy laser weapons and high-power microwave weapons. The nuclear missile formation featured new land-based intercontinental missiles such as the Dongfeng 61. The Dongfeng 5C liquid-fueled intercontinental strategic nuclear missile, reportedly capable of reaching targets globally, was also on display. 8 echelons of airborne early warning aircraft, special aircraft, bombers and fighter jets flew over Tiananmen Square. Also taking part were fighter jets including the J-16D and stealth fighters, the J-35 and the new J-20S combat aircraft. The parade concluded with the release of 80,000 pissed off and 8,000 balloons, and the chorus of All to the Motherland, bringing the 1.5-hour parade to a close. In Beijing, security was tight this morning in preparation for the parade. Since the early hours, the area near Tiananmen Square was sealed off. It took residents' perseverance to get a first-hand experience of the military parade. Photography enthusiasts started gathering from 5 a.m. to secure a good spot just 2 streets away from Chang'an Avenue, where the parade took place. Hours of waiting just to capture this majestic moment. Some parents brought their kids along for a family activity as well as a patriotism educational section.
During the parade, Army, Navy and Air Force aircraft fly at low altitude over the Tiananmen Square. Citizens come to the area nearby the Beijing railway station to witness the flypast at close range. Sakarib, TVB News, Beijing.
In a speech delivered at today's military parade, President Xi Jinping reaffirmed China's commitment to a path of peaceful development. Jackie Lin tells us more.
全国同胞们。
As the ceremony unfolds, President Xi Jinping addressed the nation from the Gate Tower of Tiananmen Square, saying China's war of resistance against Japanese aggression was a crucial part of the global fight against fascism, with the Chinese people making important contributions to world peace.
历史警示我们。
Xi says history warns us that the destinies of mankind are interconnected. Only by treating each other as equals with harmony and mutual support can nations safeguard common security, eliminate the root causes of war, and prevent historical tragedies from repeating.
全军将士。
Xi went on to urge the People's Liberation Army to fulfill its sacred duties, accelerate the building of a world-class military, resolutely safeguard China's sovereignty, unity, and territorial integrity for the rejuvenation of the nation, and contribute to world peace and development. Many foreign dignitaries were invited to attend the commemorative event, including heads of state, heads of government, high-level national representatives, and heads of international organizations and former political leaders. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un was among the guests of honor. He arrived in Beijing on board a special armored train on Tuesday. He was the third to last to enter the venue. Kim greeted Xi with an extended handshake first. The last to enter among foreign leaders was Russian President Vladimir Putin. After a handshake, Putin joined Xi for the group photo.
Thank you.
Xi then led the foreign dignitaries to ascend the Tiananmen Gate Tower, together with Putin and Kim by his side. Unlike the 2015 military parade where foreign dignitaries stood on Xi's right and Chinese state officials on his left, this year Xi was flanked by Russian President Vladimir Putin on his right and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un on his left. The leader shook hands with veterans and representatives. Also in attendance were Premier Li Qiang and Vice President Han Zheng, as well as ex-state leaders including former Premier Wen Jiabao, ex-chairman of the National Committee of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference Jia Qingling and Wang Yang, former Vice Presidents Zheng Qinghong and Wang Qishan. Former President and Party General Secretary Hu Jintao did not appear at the event. Notably, former Japanese Prime Minister Yukio Hatoyama attended the event's reception. Chief Executive John Lee and Macau Chief Executive Sam Ho-fai also took part. So were war veterans and families of wartime generals. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
At the parade, the PLA showcased some advanced weaponry and warfare equipment. Military commentators say a number of Chinese development armaments have surpassed U.S. weapons in capability. Jackie Lin reports.
Over 100 Chinese-made military aircraft roared over Tiananmen Square in the Grand V-Day military parade in Beijing. The carrier-based aircraft echelon took center stage in the sky. Among the highlights was the J-35 stealth fighter jet, China's domestically developed fifth-generation naval aircraft. Analysts described it as a milestone in China's transformation from coastal defense towards far-sea naval operations.
Military
commentator Huang Dong says the J-35's design concept took reference from the US F-35, but its goal was to outperform it in air combat. It is more affordable and thus has strong export potential. He says Egypt and Pakistan have already expressed interest. Also unveiled are anti-ship cruise missiles, the 4 variants of the Yingji or Eagle Strike YJ series, including the YJ-19. Huang says the YJ-19 boasts a speed of 10,000 kilometers per hour. At present, China is the second country to achieve such speed after Russia. As one of the nuclear-armed countries, garnering attention too are the nuclear missile displays. For the first time, China showcased its nuclear triad with complete land, sea, and air-based nuclear deterrent. They include the air-based long-range missile Jinlei-1, submarine-launched intercontinental missile Zhulang-3, and land-based intercontinental missile Dongfeng-61 and the new Dongfeng-31. Another spotlight, unmanned military equipment, from vehicles to robotic docks, as well as multiple new naval drones, some reportedly capable of carrying nuclear payloads.
好多咧已經係世界上一流，甚至。
Huang says many of these systems are already world-class, even ahead of the U.S. He says the original goal was to reach U.S. levels by 2049, but in terms of weaponry, many targets have already been met or surpassed 24 years ahead of schedule. He adds that beyond military prowess, the real spirit of the commemoration is to remember the historical significance of resistance and not to lose sight of why the nation once had to stand against aggression. Jackie Lim, TVB News.
Chief Executive John Lee led a more than 300-strong delegation to attend the military parade in Beijing. The CE posted a photo of his visit to Tiananmen Square, noting in his post the pride and honor he felt attending the parade. He said the most invigorating part of the event was witnessing the advancements in military technology achieved by the country. Lee added that the modernization of the military showcased the nation's ability to defend its sovereignty and ensure global peace. The Hong Kong SAR government held a ceremony this morning to commemorate the 80th anniversary of China's victory in the War of Resistance against Japanese aggression. This as schools and shopping malls around the city also streamed live broadcasts of the parade to facilitate residents who wish to view the special occasion. Timothy Lee tells us more.
At the City Hall Memorial Garden at 8 this morning, Chief Secretary for Administration Eric Chan led senior officials to attend a ceremony commemorating the 80th anniversary of the victory of the Chinese people in the War of Resistance against Japanese aggression. A rifle volley performed by the police rifle squad took place after the flag-raising ceremony, with all attendees bowing their heads in silence for 2 minutes. In addition to officials and executive council members, the event was also attended by secondary school students, uniformed groups, as well as representatives of youth organizations. Across the city, schools host a live broadcast of the military parade, showcasing the nation's military strength to the young generation. At this primary school in Hengfa-chun, hundreds of teachers and students assembled in classrooms and the school's auditorium to watch the parade. Some of them shared their thoughts. This student said it was touching to watch mainland citizens and the troops singing the national anthem together. While this student stressed the importance of peace and particularly enjoyed the release of the peace stuffs. Meanwhile, the parade was also broadcast live in a number of shopping malls, capturing the attention of many shoppers. Some residents came to this Kuntang shopping mall earlier today to watch the Beijing military parade, which showcased the Chinese military's latest technological advancements. Many of the residents said they felt pride in the nation's rapid development, with some older residents noting the importance of commemorating the Chinese victory over the Japanese aggressors. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
U.S. President Donald Trump sent out mixed signals regarding his stance on diplomatic relations with Beijing as China commemorated the 80th anniversary of victory in the War of Resistance against Japanese aggression. Trump also commented on U.S. trade tensions with India. Daniel Rao tells us more.
US President Donald Trump was asked whether China inviting Russian President Vladimir Putin and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un to attend the commemoration of the 80th anniversary of victory in the War of Resistance against Japanese aggression could be interpreted as a challenge to Washington. However, he told reporters this is not the case.
Are you concerned at all about those countries?
No.
Trying to be some sort of counterweight?
Not at all. China needs us, and I have a very good relationship with President Xi, as you know, but China needs us much more than we need them. No, I don't see that at all, no.
Still, as the parade got underway, Trump said on social media the big question is whether Chinese President Xi Jinping will recognize the contributions of Americans who fought in the war. The US president added, "Please give my warmest regards to Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un as you conspire against the United States of America." Xi's remarks at the commemoration did not mention the US by name, but he expressed his gratitude to foreign countries that helped China resist the Japanese invasion. The US eyed the gathering of Xi, Putin and Kim warily, as well as the Shanghai Cooperation Organization summit in Tianjin on Monday that brought together Xi, Putin and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Trump also commented on the US trade relationship with India, claiming it was one-sided.
India has, you have to understand, for many years it was a one-sided relationship. Only now, since I came along, and because of the power that we have with tariffs, India was charging us tremendous tariffs, about the highest in the world. They were about the highest in the world, number one. And we therefore weren't doing much business with India, but they were doing business with us because we weren't charging them. Foolishly, we weren't charging them. So they would send in massive, everything they made, they'd send it in, pour it into our country. Therefore, it wouldn't be made here, which is a negative.
Dan Oral, TVB News.
Indonesian President Prabowo Subianto was in Beijing earlier today to attend China's military parade. Subianto was greeted by President Xi Jinping and his wife, Peng Liyuan. The Indonesian president had originally canceled his trip to Beijing due to protests that rocked Jakarta and other Indonesian cities last week. His office said that signs of normalcy returning to Indonesia was a factor in his decision to travel. There were still protests in the largest Indonesian city today against lawmakers' perks and police brutality, but the demonstrations have been peaceful.
Thank you for being here.
Still ahead, federal judge blocks U.S. Trump administration from using the military to fight crime in California. And a trade show here in Hong Kong showcasing Asian fruit. Welcome back. U.S. President Donald Trump said the U.S. military has killed 11 people in a strike on a vessel from Venezuela. The boat was allegedly carrying illegal narcotics heading to the United States by members of the Tren de Aragua gang. Trump said the strike occurred while the vessel was in international waters. It is the first known operation since the recent deployment of U.S. warships to the Southern Caribbean. Tracy Furness reports.
A video on Trump's Truth Social account shows the U.S. military strike. The vessel allegedly carrying narcotics is speeding through international waters after leaving Venezuela when the strike hits.
The room, you'll see that we just, over the last few minutes, literally shot out a boat, a drug-carrying boat, a lot of drugs in that boat. We have a lot of drugs pouring into our country, coming in for a long time. And we just, these came out of Venezuela and coming out very heavily from Venezuela. A lot of things are coming out of Venezuela.
Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has insisted the U.S. is building a false drug trafficking narrative to try to force him out of office. Earlier, Maduro mobilized troops along the country's coast and border with neighboring Colombia after Washington prepared to expand its maritime presence in the region, deploying warships and thousands of Marines to target drug cartels. He also encouraged his citizens to enlist in a civilian militia. On his third trip to Latin America Tuesday, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio's hot-button issues for discussion will include cartels and drugs. In talks with leaders in Mexico and Ecuador Wednesday and Thursday, Rubio will make the case that broader, deeper cooperation in the U.S. on those issues is vitally important to improving health, safety and security in the Americas and the Caribbean.
So the president's been very clear that he's going to use the full power of America and the full might of the United States to take on and eradicate these drug cartels, no matter where they're operating from and no matter how long they've been able to act with impunity. Those days are over.
Tracy Furness, TVB News.
A federal judge on Tuesday blocked U.S. President Donald Trump's administration from using the military to fight crime in California. This as the Republican president threatened to send troops to more U.S. cities, including Chicago. San Francisco-based U.S. District Court Judge Charles Breyer found the Trump administration willfully violated a law known as the Posse Comitatus Act, which sharply limits the use of the military for domestic enforcement. This by employing troops to control crowds and bolster federal agents during immigration and drug raids. The administration deployed 4,000 National Guard members and 700 active duty U.S. Marines to Los Angeles in June. The judge put the ruling on hold until September 12th. The Trump administration is likely to appeal. Meanwhile, Trump said the Los Angeles deployment restored order, and he intended to send the military to more cities, including Chicago and Baltimore. Back locally, the three-day Asia Fruit Logistica kicked off at the Asia World Expo today. The 18th edition of the International Trade Show for Asia's fresh produce business gathers more than 760 exhibitors from 45 countries and regions. This year, the show also introduces a new first-timer pavilion, highlighting companies making their debut in Hong Kong. There are also 2 new dedicated forums on frozen fruit and vegetables, as well as nuts and dried fruit. The fair is not open to the public, but for registered industry representatives. It's expected to draw some 13,000 visitors. And before we go, let's take another look at the highlights of the Beijing military parade.